Hi, this is Brendan Murphy here, and welcome to the Please Do Something podcast. I'm a singer and a songwriter who will be talking to inspiring creative people about how and why they do what they do and some of the lessons they've learned along the way. Thanks for listening. From demo tapes to final master, join Greg Canty and me as we explore the making of the four of us' latest album, Crescent Nights. Track by track, we'll share the creative journey and studio stories that brought this album to life. Let's begin.
We're back again. Brendan Murphy, how are we doing?
We're doing great, Greg. We're doing great. Our album's out now. Crescent Nights is out now, so we're touring it, and we're enjoying the reaction that songs are getting, but we did a show on the last show we did. Where was it? The last show we did was in the Moat Theatre in Kildare, and the person just said, "I apologize, I had to leave. Did you say I left during the middle of a song?" And I said, "No, I didn't know. I see it black." And she went, "No, my apologies, but it's just that it affected me emotionally." And then I thought, sorry about that. No, she said, "No, it was good, but it affected me emotionally." So I'm signing a few more CDs and vinyl, and then somebody else says exactly the same thing, and I'm going, maybe this song is, too raw or something, And the song I'm talking about is a song called "Carry Me to the Water" from the record.
Yeah.
And I do a sort of a thing before that I play the song. Our dad died at the end of 2019, and it's really a sort of a tribute to him. I felt like I couldn't make a record about my and Declan's story without acknowledging. We acknowledged COVID with the waiting game, and I thought, well, I'm going to have to acknowledge this, especially because we had a lot of songs on the album that mention him or refer to him, and he was gone now. So the song "Carry Me to the Water," the story that I tell at the shows is basically that we had a couple of things that we did on our summer holidays. One was that we, in the early years, we'd go to Butlins, which inspired the song "Going South" from Sugar Island. But there was another thing that we did, which was, you see, you felt like you were on holiday the second you got across the border, because there was no army and no police. So Dad, a wise man, what he did was he bought a caravan, and he basically just took it literally just across the border. In fact, very close to where I live now, which is part of the reason why I live where I live. And he parked it there, and it remained there for many years. And there was a funny thing about it. Back then you could get a caravan and you could park it there and just leave it there and come back the next year and it'd still be there. You weren't paying anybody, to do anything. So it was on the side of a beach, but it wasn't a beach like you see on the brochures. It was a beach in the border, which had a small strip of sand, and then the water, and between the sand and the water was just lots of rocks. So all the cine footage we have of Daddy, he's carrying 5 kids across the rocks. There was always somebody shouting out for him to carry across to the rocks, to the water, carry me to the water. And I don't know what made me think of, well, I got a thing for water anyway, which when I'm looking at it at the minute, I came up with that title and then wrote backwards from that, but I don't say the whole story. So then in the song, it starts with that image of him carrying us across the water, and then it sort of moves to an image of the memory of me carrying him. The first real experience I had of that, where you're sort of carrying a coffin. So it's not a fun song, really, but what really helped was that Declan's guitar part was so good for it. It's probably my favourite song on the record because of actually Declan's guitar part. I really love the guitar part and the groove of that song on the record. It's a really fantastic guitar part. So I love that song.
Did that song come together quickly? Because I know I've heard a few versions of it. There's a few demos, and then there's the real thing.
It didn't come together quickly. No, it came together. It was like two different melodic ideas. Declan had the verse idea, but he didn't have the chorus idea. And no, it didn't come together fast at all. But the verse was so good. And actually, Declan really helped me get that song across the line, because the way I write is normally that I'll go in, he had the track, and I'm just singing, stream of consciousness stuff, and which is what I did. And then he added two verses that didn't sound nearly like they belonged in the same song. And there's a wee bit where I got a wee bit emotional, and I didn't really want it to be kept in the song. And, that was a thing he really wanted to be kept in the song, so, and I thought, well, he's a brother, and he was, he's probably got good instincts, so it stayed in.
When was that song born?
When you say when was it born, the songs, it could be a year from having a title and then having the verse part and then grappling to try and write the bridge and then trying to write the chorus. So it probably took about a year to get it the way we wanted it,
Did the song affect him in the same way that it affects the audience and it affects you?
It did, yeah. But he didn't find it too morose or anything. And I played it to my other brothers and sisters, and they loved it. So I thought, well, it can't be that morose if they love it. And the idea is, I remember, I think it was Bruce Springsteen said that, he tries to make his songs blues in the verse and gospel in the chorus. And I thought, that's a great way to look at it. So if it's all blues, then it can be a wee bit hard to listen. But, the gospel is sort of, the redemption is in the chorus. And Carry Me to the Water, I think, for me, has got a spiritual connotations. And at the end of the song, the idea is basically that, I'll get to see him again. And funny enough, I remember seeing a film called The Tree of Life, Terrence Malick film, if you know it. At the end of that film, his view of heaven were like relatives, the people, the dead meet their relatives, they come to greet them on the beach, on this sort of imaginary beach, spiritual beach. And that sort of ties into my own thoughts about nature and the water. So for all those reasons, I think of it as a sort of like that sometime in the future, he could be carrying me back to the water when he comes to meet me from the other side.
It is a nice image, because those child days, when you are at the beach with mum or dad or whatever, they're so carefree, aren't they?
Yeah.
There's so little going on. And of course, there's loads going on in truth. But when you look back, they are so carefree. Yeah, so that's beautiful things. So at the gigs, you have a few members of the audience shedding tears and leaving the room. And
yeah, of course, which I sort of knew that there was a chance that would happen, The whole thing is that when you're writing songs, you actually are trying to evoke emotions out of people. That is essentially what you're trying to do. So you can't really apologize for affecting people, because affecting people is the name of the game.
Of course it is. Of course it is. And I think music does have that amazing ability to take you somewhere, you know, whether it's the idea of the song or whether it's your attachment to that song to a time in your life. And the minute you hear it, you're back there. Immediately, the minute you hear that song, you're just back there.
Yeah.
Are there songs that affect you?
Yeah, let me try and think what songs would affect me like that. Yeah, there are songs that have brought a tear to my... a song that did it actually is The Battle of Georgie, The Killing of Georgie by Rod Stewart, of all people. And he wrote it about the death of a friend of his. I Can't Make You Love Me, made famous by Bonnie Raitt. But there's a couple of fantastic versions of that song. Randy Newman's song, Feels Like Home. I mean, actually, you know, now that I think about it, there's a lot of songs, you know. In the Ghetto even would be, you know, even the Ghetto, you know, the Elvis song. So, I mean, there is nothing more powerful than music. If, you know, a film comes pretty close, a film comes pretty close. I've shed a tear at a film, but no, music is very powerful in that regard.
You soothed me when I cried, kept me safe from days gone by. Boy, the man through life changes. You were patient and courageous. Bomb scares, flaming cars. Your curfew was martial law, just a lie and being protective. It's only now with some perspective. I see you pick me up, wrap me up, lift me over stony ground. I see you pick me up, carry me to the water, to the water.
Carrying the music, carrying the new songs from the record and bringing them on stage, playing them for the first time in front of audiences, is it always as you predict? Does anything surprise you the minute?
Everything surprises you. You literally, you know, you can't... It's really an unknown quantity with songs when you play them to an audience, you know. And every audience is a bit different. You know, you do the best you can. You write the best song you can. And then you try to do the best version of it live that you can. And some songs just land better than others. Like on this record, I don't really think there's anything that I'm not really proud of on the record. So, yeah, sometimes there's a song on the record called Miracle Every Morning where, you know, the live version's better than the recorded version, I think. You know, and so sometimes the live version just has something. It's a song that just has an extra 10% live. And some songs are just like that. You know, some songs just have an extra 10% live. You can't really explain what it is. They lose something in the recording, or they just have an extra thing whenever you play them live. And that song is one of them. Carry Me to the Water is one of them as well, actually. It's we do it every night.
Okay.
It's like we're at the minute now, we're doing 4 to 5 songs off the new record live, and that's one of them.
Yeah. And I presume you have to leave a few of the others behind then, do you?
Yeah, well, part of it, sometimes it's because, you know, I mean, most of the shows we're doing it with 2 acoustic guitars. So some of them we're still trying to actually, we're going, yeah, we can do this, but it doesn't sound as banging as the record where you've got the bass and you've got keyboards and all. So it's like, until we've really, you know, so then you go, okay, well, let's go back and try it in a different tuning. You know, we're better musicians now than we were even 5 years ago. So now we'll go, okay, and certainly I'm a better musician. And So now Declan can ask me to do things that he daren't have asked me before. So he'll say, well, why don't you try doing that? Try it in Dadgad, or try it in G tuning, or try it in D tuning, or try it, I mean, there's a song at the minute and he's saying, try playing half the song with your fingers and half the song with the plectrum, and I thought he was joking. He wasn't joking. So, so I'm trying to figure that out. So, Sugar Island was pretty easy to make it sound like the record with the 2 acoustic guitars. This record is tougher to pull that off, but because of that, it's stretching our playing, I think. I think we're becoming better, more dynamic players to try and get that across.
On the subject of leaving something behind, that track, In and Out of Focus, why did you leave that one behind? It's a beautiful song, really easygoing track, some clever wordplay in it.
Yeah, I mean, I think In and Out of Focus, I think that the reason we left it behind was it was another demo from Heaven and Earth. But so St. Gabriel's Drive and In and Out of Focus were 2 demos from Heaven and Earth that didn't make the record. In the case of St. Gabriel's Drive, I went and completely rewrote a lyric. We didn't have a lyric worth talking about for St. Gabriel's Drive. In and Out of Focus, it's a sort of song that there's, the whole idea is basically that you're sort of not being specific, and that's why it's called In and Out of Focus. So it's a bit more languid and a bit more just chill out. But I think that it didn't make the record because nearly all the rest of the record is not like that. It's very narrative driven. I wasn't 100% sure that it delivered in the chorus. So I like the feel of it, but it just felt a bit that it hadn't taken the listener on enough of a journey. But actually what that song does is it starts in a mood and it keeps the listener in that mood. And there's nothing wrong with that. That can work really well sometimes. If you're in a certain mood, that would be a great song to hear. But myself and Declan, I think we tried to work on it. We tried to St. Gabriel's Drive it. We tried to take it and change it and make it into something, and we failed miserably. So we were left with pretty much what we had when we abandoned it from Heaven and Earth. And if it wasn't good enough for Heaven and Earth, well, why should it be good enough for this record? That was our thinking.
But it sounds with some of them that you feel in your gut that it's worth persisting with and making it better or making it stronger. But with some of them, you have an instinct, obviously, to just no, we'll leave that one behind.
Well, to be honest, no. What happens is you run out of time. you give them all a certain amount of time. Like in St. Gabriel's Drive, if I hadn't come up with that lyric, Declan would never have agreed to put it on the record. It needed a lyric that was that well thought out to get that song over the hump, as far as he was concerned. Whereas I actually like the sort of bluesy riff of it, but I understand where he was coming from. This song, it was the same thing. So they probably both had the same amount of time where we worked on them. And but sometimes I think a song like that in that state needs one champion. Like, so in St. Gabriel's Drive, the case of that, Declan was just like, I can't say it, and wasn't really going to help me get that song in contention. So I had to do that myself. In and Out of Focus, I wasn't fighting for it. Declan wasn't fighting for it. Enda wasn't fighting for it hard enough. Nobody said, I'm going to go and I'm going to sort this out. So that's what it needs sometimes. Sometimes it just needs one person who can see something that the rest of us can't. And that didn't happen there. I think everybody thought, it is what it is. Let's just leave it off.
Like a one-night stand, find a place to land and crash into it. The door is open wide, take a step inside, I'm walking through it, there's nothing to it. Leave the world behind, watch it moving in and out of focus. Lying by your just moving in and out of time.
Do these songs torment you? You know, when you put your head down at night and you're trying to get a good night's sleep because there's a lot on the following day, and you start turning into a string, trying to solve the riddle of some of these songs?
Yeah, I think it does more Declan than me. He sometimes really does have problems getting to sleep when a song's going around in his head. But then he doesn't have two kids, you know. So I mean, like, I don't have the option. I need to sleep. I need to be up at 7 o'clock in the morning. You know, I don't have an option. Like, so I just have to switch off. You know, whereas he will let it torment him.
Tell me about Boneshaker. When you were growing up and you were out with your pals, who was the guy or the girl with the car?
Well, the song Boneshaker is not about a car.
I was sure it was about a car.
Well, that's good. That's good that you thought it was about a car. But it's not. It's about a bike. And but that's good. You know, I think it's good that that people can see it about more than one sort of thing. And actually, you know, Enda thought it was about a relationship. You know, but he thought it was a reflection on a sort of a romantic relationship of two people that were, let's say, not in the first flush of youth. That's where he thought. I don't know where he came up with that one, but I mean, I was willing to. Or he said, Brenton, at least try and write it so that it could seem to be about something more than just a bloody bike. You know what I mean? So if you look at the lines actually are, there's a few wee lines, nods to Enda's ambiguous idea that basically it could be about two people just journeying through life, you know, having a good time while they're doing it. And they're not kids anymore. But actually, really, it is, for me, when I was writing about it is a bike, because that was our freedom back in the day. Was we were all on bikes, and we had a friend who was fantastic. He was great, actually, because he ended up being our tour manager and working with us. But he was always a bit of an adventure, and he had a bike and had the racing stripes, and he fixed bikes, and he knew everything there was. So we would go on bike rides with him up mountains and, you know, crazy places. And I had an old second-hand bike that the brakes weren't fantastic on it, and nothing was fantastic on it. But I loved that bike because I loved the feeling of going, you know, downhill. Like when you're 14 or 13, just those journeys, like when you're flying down, they were death traps, really. You know, I mean, one of the guys that we spoke with, I mean, I think he broke his hip. My brother broke something. I mean, we were always breaking bones on the bike. But the song is really a tribute to those days on the bikes.
What kind of a bike did you have?
It was a mongrel bike. It wasn't anything. It didn't even have a proper. It wasn't like, you know, I think there's a line in the song where I go, I wouldn't swap her for a chopper now.
Yeah, the choppers.
You know, and the choppers were like, if you had a chopper now, that was like, you were in the money.
That was the DeLorean of bicycles, wasn't it?
It was the DeLorean of bicycles, it was. Because it was all a bit Easy Rider. You know, It had that it looked like one of those Easy Rider motorbikes. Whereas I had one with a saddle that was too hard. Oh, the brakes were useless. I think we got it second hand. I didn't care enough about it to worry about that, you know. And we dressed it up and you got that tape that had the racing stripes on it, and you had you know, things hanging off it and anything that you could, you know. If you could have put ferry dice on it, you would have done that. We were on bikes from we were no age until we were like really 16, 17. I was still, until I went to college, like I was on bikes all the time.
Just because I've been hurt before, that won't stop me. Now I'm back for more. Shake, rattle, leave me tired and sore. My t-shirt's wet and my mouth is dry, fighting for breath as we climb up the hillside. I got scars from earlier rides. We found a river seconds to go till we're over the top. Inches away from a 40-foot drop. I love it, I love it, I love it. Boneshaker on a downhill run. Beat up and bent, but we're having fun.
I was sure it was the Boneshaker of a car, the first car. And you think of young people now, and it's so dodgy because they're not very good at driving. They buy a terrible car.
I was the opposite of that. My dad always bought a new car for my mum. So he had a car, and he had an Audi. We called it Audi Murphy after the actor. And mum would have an Avenger. She would get a brand new Avenger. But unfortunately for her, just around that time, which she'd always had them, but then I learned to drive, inverted commas. And basically I headed out on the road, and as you say, the kids have no idea how to drive. So the first car, I wrapped around a telegraph pole on black ice after I dropped a girl I was dating home at about 2 a.m. And I couldn't get a lift because nobody would let me into the house because we were into their house because it was in the north. It was the north is troubles. Nobody was going to let anybody in. Somebody threw me, I think, some coins and told me that there was a phone box about a mile down the road. That's about how hospitable it was when you went shouting up at windows back then. And then, so Dad then said, well, as long as you're all right, Brian, as long as you are okay, the cars are right off, but as long as you're right. So then he bought Mum another brand new car. And I was coming out of the cinema with a girl that I was going out with, a different girl. And I didn't look where I was going and got hit by a Volvo straight on in a collision that should have killed me. But it just put about 32 stitches in my face. And after that, Dad never bought Mum a new car. Bought her second-hand cars from that because he thought, what's the point? Funny thing was I never crashed another car, but it didn't help my mum, who was not too well pleased.
It's official, the Boneshaker was not a car, it was a bicycle.
No, the cars we had were good ones.
I think one of the most memorable songs on the album for me is Hurt People.
Okay.
When you play the record for the first time, you go, okay, yeah. One or two of the tracks might kind of stay with you, and that's the one very, very quickly I found myself humming around the house. Mm-hmm. There's a great hook to it. Again, that beautiful wordplay, why do hurt people? It's a really clever line.
Yeah.
And it's a nice bouncy tune as well.
Yeah.
Can you tell me the story of that song? And
the story of that song is really that we had started the record saying, okay, we're not going to do Sugar Island Mark II in terms of the music. We're not going to just limit ourselves to 2 guitars. Let's try and get grooves up going. And it was on the bass. We were up in the studio, so we were creating we were jamming in the studio. Sometimes Endo would be in the bass, sometimes be in the Moog, which is another bass. Sometimes be in the keyboards. Declan would be on the guitar. I'd be on the guitar. And we were just trying to get something that sounded cool. And Endo was creating these wee drum loops, but they were coming out through the speakers in the studio. I mean, it's fantastic. That studio, which no longer exists, but it really was amazing. And we knew it at the time was amazing to be able to be writing like this.
There's a rumble of tires, the dog bolts from the floor, headlights stream through the blinds. Dad walks in the back door at the end of the day.
He came up with this sort of groove. He put this wee drum loop and then played a bass line over it that sounded funky. It sounded sort of groovy and funky, you know. And both me and Declan are in acoustics, so we're creating wee loops, and we had. And I think I was going this like just sort of which we ended up on the record actually. I mean, I was a percussion part, and then I went in. Everybody got excited about it. I went in, but it was flat. There was nothing going on. We couldn't change it. Then we went in. I had the title "Hurt People," and from "Hurt People, Hurt People." That's an expression which I had heard. The first time I heard it, I wrote it down in my wee title thing. I thought, that's a great idea. Hurt people, hurt people. And then I put that in the groove. Hurt people, hurt people. It sort of sounded chanty. But sort of remind me of Talking Heads, Remaining Light. The track had a wee bit of that going on to it. So I thought that'll work with it. And then we just spent a long time trying to take it off the flat thing. So basically, you know, you're looking for I don't know who came up with and I don't know how I could be, so it's like a sort of a reprise that allows you then to get back into the chorus pattern. But it's a groovy song, and at one point I did a shitload of stuff on it, so much so that when we played it to people, they didn't like it. And then we gradually started taking stuff off. And then even on the last couple of months, when we were doing the final mixes of the record, Paul, who had been in the band, he would come up and cause havoc by sort of like going, to get rid of that song. You know, Paul doesn't do half measures. So it would either be, the song was either fantastic or it was absolutely useless. And the vibe was either really cool or really naff. So, you know, you were sort of like, he was veering between both, and we were all having a drink of wine, listening to, you know, the mixes. And Declan at one point rewound, and Paul said, that's too much going on. Just put the bass up and his moog up. And so Declan did that on a mix. And as soon as it started, it was like, whoa, this is good. So that became the start of the song. The song starts with Enda basically playing the Moog bass part, and very little else apart from the groove going on behind it, and then gradually builds up. And Declan was trying to figure out how to make the song more expressive at the end. So he knew a bouzouki player who lived locally. So Declan got him in to play bouzouki on a track that bouzouki should not be anywhere near, which is this sort of like funky R&B thing. So you get this guy doing an Andy Irvine bouzouki line over the top of it, and it worked. You know, it sort of worked, and it sounded acoustic, and it just sort of threw you. So it didn't sound like we thought we were trying to be Prince or something. You know, so a bit of something a wee bit Celtic in there as well. But a lot of people love that song. Yeah. I really like that song. That's one of those songs that I was telling you, it's not the easiest to pull off on two acoustics. We're trying to figure that out, how to do that.
Yeah, that was my next question. Have you tried it yet live? Have you?
No, not that. That's one where at the minute we're working. You know, we've released 2 singles so far. So we've got, I think, the third single. Well, we're not 100% sure what the third single is going to be, but people are saying "Carry Me to the Water's" third single, but I'm not so sure whether. That's a bit too dark for anybody. I just don't know. But as soon as you make something a single, you have to be able to play it. Like, so, you know, like leaving Crescent Nights took a bit of work for us. No, we'll get it. Like, we'll get it. So it's exciting working on that song. It's a good song. That's the main thing. It's like, it's not a groove. Once you turn it from what's a groove into an actual song, which means really you're talking verse, bridge, and chorus, then you can make it work. It's only when you never really do that, like, you know, some of the hip hop or dance stuff, which doesn't really do that. Take that on the acoustics, and it doesn't really wash, because it's just not really designed to work that way.
Well, there's a challenge for you.
Yeah, no, absolutely, yeah. So, but you know, we're getting through it. I mean, the records were, you know, even at the minute we're about to hit the UK and Night Out of Town, which is quite a lot going on. But Declan is now trying to say, no, play the verse without a plectrum, the chorus with a plectrum. So it's really good. Stuff that stretches you as a musician is always good, you know, good for you. Because the thing is that you're trying to surprise yourself. You really are, because, I mean, there's hundreds of thousands of fantastic guitar players out there. But really what you're trying to do is to do something a little bit different with the guitar, because nobody needs another Joni Mitchell, really. You know what I mean? It's like she sort of did it. Not that there's any chance of that happening anyway, in my lifetime. The whole idea is to just try and move the bar a bit.
I think you certainly did with that album. It's so good. That song in particular, you know, you were saying Talking Heads. I was thinking R.E.M., but R.E.M. in their prime is a good, bouncy song, very memorable, catchy, clever.
Do you think that's a single? Do you think it's a single?
I would, yeah, definitely. But of course, then that gives you the dilemma. But yeah, maybe that's a dilemma you can live with, you know.
I think that's I think that's the right sort of dilemma. You know, figure it out, and it forces you to go, because most people try to solve that problem by more musicians. The trick in most things is to do something that's hard to do, that most people wouldn't. The easy route's nearly always not the best route. And if, you know,
yeah.
When you're trying to, because most people will avoid the hard work, but it's the hard work that actually it makes people sit up and take notice.
Now gather round, settle down, clear away those toys. Dinner's on, table set for 7 girls and boys. Grab a chair, sit down then. What kept you out till dawn? That's too late to make us wait with all this going on. And I don't know how I could be so cold with so much love around me. They wanna keep us close until we're sleeping soundly. And all I have is questions with no easy answers. I hurt you bad, made you cry. Why do hurt people hurt people? Let you down. I was out of...
And in terms of letting something off again, we said we would close with something that didn't make the album. If I Knew What You Were Thinking. It's such an interesting idea, isn't it?
Yeah, that song was written, again, that's written a while back, and it didn't make an album. It's even older than In That of Focus. It might have been classified personal. And that's what we do. We keep digging up these songs from past albums, and we give them another shot. We say, okay, well, let's try and see if we can, you know, sometimes it works, like in St. Gabriel's Drive, and sometimes it doesn't. This was another one where we tried it, and we just, we couldn't beat the demo. We couldn't add anything to it. So we thought, well, maybe this is all it's supposed to be. And while it's nice, it's not Hurt People. You see, Hurt People sort of redefines us for us. You know, it's like, oh, when's the last time the four of us did something like that? You know, you listen to You Hurt People and you go, that's the four of us. And that's like, is it? You know, to some people that would be a bad thing, but for us, it's a good thing. Particularly when there's like over 5 years between your record. So whereas If I Knew What You Were Thinking sounded like an old Four of Us song, which is fine, but we don't even need another one of those, never mind the general public. So we just thought we have more interesting, better realized songs on the record. But there's something I really like about it. I really like the title. there's a line on called, I put on this old black suit, still trying my best for you, which I remember Sharon heard that line. She liked that line. When Sharon likes lines, always a good sign. But I don't know that there's many other lines. St. Gabriel's Drive is full of lines like that. It's full of lines that it doesn't drop the ball, as far as I'm concerned, as a lyric writer. And I'm just tougher now on myself, I think, from that end. I'm just tougher and I think myself and Declan are tougher when we're creating this. Like, we are constantly asking ourselves, well, what are we going to do that's on this record that sort of will make people, oh, there's more to them than I thought there was, just to keep it interesting. So that's why that song didn't make the record, but I still like it. The record's now been out a few months and I'm so happy with it now. I can't think of another record that I've was as happy with. I think part of the reason is because we know we've so much to explore. Like, geez, okay, Hurt People, suppose we're going to have to, if that's a single, we're going to have to learn how to play it, and, and we have got a couple of shows with Peter and John. Peter played drums on Hurt People. So I want us to have our shit together for when we do the festival shows with those guys, because they'll definitely have their shit. So we will have a rhythm section. So if we could have our guitar parts really happening away and the vocals in, those shows should be exciting.
If I knew what you were thinking, I could save myself time that I spend drinking, just getting out of my mind. I put on this old black suit, still trying my best for you. What you were thinking when he's at home with your child.
We had people over for dinner yesterday, and vinyl only, Brendan, vinyl only.
Oh,
and
good to hear.
No, so we were going through a whole A to Z of music and everything, and without saying anything one way or the other, I was just going through different records. I wasn't announcing what everything was, and so Crescent Nights came on. That's really good. Who are they? Yeah, they really liked it. And then we moved on to Sugar Island. I played a few different things in between. Yeah. And it was amazing as well, the record cover on Sugar Island. And of course, I was able to tell them the lovely story about it and everything.
Yeah.
It's the importance of those things again. Yeah, and of course I was showing them the vinyl for Crescent Nights with the sparkly stuff.
Yeah,
and they were very impressed.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, that cover. We're about to go and do some. When I come back from England, we're doing some PR in the north. We haven't really done any. We've got a festival show coming up in Belfast. And so the guy that does the PR there, he really knows his vinyl. And we'd shot a couple of pretty impressive videos for this album so far now, for Crescent Nights and Gabriel's Drive. But the thing that really impressed him was the vinyl. I mean, it was just not only the sparkle, but he's such a sort of an expert on it that he was wobbling the vinyl. He said some of the vinyl that they make now, if it's not like made in huge quantities, if it's not a big vinyl thing, sometimes it's a bit like a slab of plastic. It doesn't wobble. It's hard and it's sort of not malleable. Whereas the really good vinyl, you should be able to, it should really be like a wobble board. You should be able to do that to it. But that's part of the sign of what makes a record sort of good. So I was impressed with that. One of the things I like most about the record is it has an energy, and I'm going, I want to pursue that. So I'm going, okay, well, typical. I'm starting to think about the next record now. And I'm going like, let's just see if could we up the energy again and then up our ability to perform at that energy. But I'm really enjoying the idea of like, because all these songs, you said we were last talking about where are the acoustic guitars, even though the record's full of them, but they're surrounded by lots of other stuff that they weren't in Sugar Island. But the fact of the matter is that the acoustic guitar parts are all there, and they're all good parts, which is why we're not nervous. Because we've been in scenarios where, like, sometimes we've made records where the acoustic guitar parts were there, but they weren't strong. And when you took the scaffolding of the rhythm section away, there wasn't enough there to make you want to play those songs live, you know?
I'm going to say for the old cronies who actually like to purchase the physical thing, like the CD or even better, the vinyl. And maybe we're not the old cronies, maybe we're the wise ones who appreciate that you have to have the full experience. Where can I purchase?
Well, at the minute, you mainly can get it from the website. Because shops have started asking for it, we've started giving it to certain shops. But we're still at the point where essentially we want people to be buying it from us. thefourofus.com, that's where you can get it.
Okay, cool. I'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Please Do Something podcast. If you'd like to get in touch, just send an email to brianmurphy@new